Have you ever smelled a glass of wine and got a whiff of something familiar, like, a spice, cinnamon or black pepper, but you just can't put the finger on it? Well, in this video, I will guide you through a new sensory exploration, the spicy aromas in wine. And I will share with you how you can use your spices in your kitchen cabinet to train your nose so next time a spicy note hits your sensory receptors, you will be able to nail it. Hi, sensory explorers. I'm Isabelle Lesschaeve, a trained sensory scientist with over 30 years of experience in the food and wine industry. In 2020, I chose to become a wine tasting coach to help people like you become more discerning wine tasters. And my mission is really to demystify the old, outdated wine tasting rituals and give you tools and tutorials so that you can express your preferences in wine and tell why you like or don't like a particular wine, because you're able to describe what you sense to your friends or to the sommelier at the restaurant table. So today I want to take you through a particular sensory exploration, which is the spicy aromas in wine. So what are they? If you look at the wine aroma wheel, the spicy section is very small. Only 3 aromas, and I'll read them for you: licorice, anise, black pepper, and clove. But if you have read different tasting notes in magazines or online, you may have seen other spicy aromas like nutmeg or ginger. Sometimes vanilla is described as a spicy aroma, or cinnamon, and sometimes even dry herbs. So anything that is savory or spicy that you can find in a wine. But what is the origin of these spicy aromas? Well, of course, winemakers don't add spices in the wine. We are not talking about mulled wine here, but we are talking about the naturally occurring spicy aromas that you can find in certain white or red wines. Most of these aromas are coming directly from the grapes. They are extracted from the grapes at crushing. Others are formed during the alcoholic fermentation. And finally, the last process where spicy aromas can be created or formed is during aging in oak barrels. So I want to review with you 4 of the most common spicy aromas in wines, which are the baking spices, the black pepper, clove, and licorice. So where do these spicy wine aromas come from? So we start with baking spices. Actually, it's not an aroma on the wine aroma wheel, and that's okay because the wine aroma wheel is not exclusive. It's just a guide. And if you're not familiar with the wine aroma wheel, I will recommend you to check my video on this topic. But the baking spice is often used to describe aromatic whites such as Viognier or Gewürztraminer, and certain red wines as well. So what do we call baking spice? It evokes the smell of cinnamon, nutmeg, or even ginger, like as a mixture, or sometimes cinnamon is the most dominant aroma. So it's kind of a big category of these different sensations. And there is one compound called ethyl cinnamate that has this distinctive cinnamon-like aroma that is produced during the primary fermentation, the alcoholic fermentation during winemaking. And its production is really influenced by yeast strain and the fermentation condition. We find high concentration of ethyl cinnamate, the cinnamon compound, in Pinot Noir and Gewürztraminer. A note on ginger. Ginger can be used to describe certain Gewürztraminer, but there is no specific compound associated to ginger, or it's not really coming from the oak barrel either. So I suspect that it might come from the warming sensation that people associate with ginger that sometimes is perceived in wines like Gewürztraminer. But it's true that these baking spice aromas are really amplified if the wine is aged in oak. Let's move on to the second wine aroma, which is black pepper. And black pepper is really, the evocation of the aroma of black pepper, not specifically the pungency, the picante. It's not the feeling, but it's more the flavor, the aromatic component of the flavor of black pepper. So the compound that is responsible for this aroma is called Rotundone. And it has a very long chemical name that I will not try to pronounce, but it's for the nerdy out there who wants to know the exact name, chemical name, but we'll call it Rotundone. And the interesting information is that this compound has only been identified in Shiraz wine in Australia in 2008. Later on, this compound has been confirmed in Syrah wines in the Rhone Valley, but also in Gamay wines in the Beaujolais or grown elsewhere. We also found Rotundone in white wines, such as the Grüner Veltliner, an Austrian varietal wine. So, which brings me to this interesting observation that when wine critics or wine experts are perceiving a peppery note in a wine, when it's a white wine, they will call it white pepper. And when it's in a red wine, they will call it black pepper. But it's the same molecule. So it's really an association that is linked to color, or maybe the strength of the aroma is not as strong in a white wine compared to the red wine. Anyway, I just found interesting that we associate a color of the spice with the color of the wine. Another interesting note is that the production of Rotundone is accelerated in cool and wet seasons, and the Rotundone is produced in the grape skin and accumulate in the last few weeks of the grape maturation. In hot climate, the Rotundone production is less active compared to the cool climate. Another interesting fact is 25 to 35% of the population is anosmic to Rotundone, meaning that they can't smell the peppery note in a concentration that the majority of the people would detect the peppery note. So if you've never perceived black pepper in a wine, it's maybe because you have this anosmia, specific anosmia to this compound. And that's okay. That's what our genetics are for. We are all different. You might not perceive black pepper, and I'm not perceiving other aromas. So it's just being aware is what is needed in those circumstances. So that's what we have for black pepper. For clove, it evokes, of course, the aroma of clove buds that you may use as well in your cuisine. But it might also remind you some visits at the dentist office, because many products that are used in anesthesia in the dentist office are based from clove component. And clove buds have natural painkiller properties. So if one day you had a toothache, you can put a clove bud on the spot and it might relieve you from the pain. The compounds responsible for the clove aroma are called Eugenol and Isoeugenol, and they are really byproduct of the oak barrels and the toasting process. So we have light, medium, heavy toasted barrels. So the more toasted, the more clove you will experience in a wine. And the last aroma that I want to pinpoint that you can find in several wine styles is called licorice or anise. And it really evoked the aroma of the black licorice or the star anise that you can use in your cuisine. It's a byproduct of fermentation, and then the compound responsible is called anethole. And it's the same compounds that you will find in other food products like tarragon, fennel, or star anise. So it's the same compounds, but the highest concentration is found in black licorice. And you will find this compound, anethole, in red wines such as Primitivos, Infandel, and Shiraz. these characteristics, these flavor characteristics may result from the chemical change occurring during fermentation, but for some wines in particular regions of the world, it can come from the sold condition as well. If you have heard or experienced or tasted wines from the Priorat in Spain, they have a soul they call Licorella, and it conveys this licorice note into the red wines. So how do you train your nose to recognize these spicy aromas in wine? Well, this is very simple. Just open your kitchen cabinet and take out all the containers with spices. So I have here nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger, cardamom, and clove, but it's still my French container. It says clou de girofle. So how do you train with those spices in your kitchen? Well, it's very simple. Because they're in dry form, it's quite easy actually. Let's say every day you pass by your kitchen cabinet and you take a few containers out of it and you just open, smell, close, and really pause. Take the moment to really memorize the scent and what the name on the container is. So here I have nutmeg. Again, I take a quick sniff. I don't want to take a big sniff, otherwise I'm going to overwhelm my sensory detectors that are at the top of my nostrils. I just take a quick sniff, pause, and memorize. And often what is helpful is to take some notes to describe the sensations or the associations we are making with that particular scent. So smell, close your eyes, and take some notes to memorize. So when I described earlier the baking spices, they were a blend of spice. So you can definitely have your nutmeg and cinnamon and maybe cardamom with you and create your own little spice blend. And same thing, it's a small mason jar. You smell, close, memorize, and move on. Now it's your turn to practice, because training your sense of smell through a sensory practice like I just described is the most reliable path to describing wine aromas with clarity and confidence. So here's my assignment to you. In the next 7 days, walk by your spice racks, take 3 to 4 containers, and smell these spices once a day, the way I just described, taking your time, pausing, memorizing, taking some notes, and you will see that by the end of the 7 days, you will have improved your ability to recognize these different aromas, even when you don't read the label on the container. And if you don't want to practice alone, I invite you to join our community, the Curious Palates, where we go through this sensory training once a month so that you can improve your tasting skills with a bunch of other people who are supporting you along the way. If you like this spicy exploration, subscribe to this channel for a new sensory exploration each week in the world of wine aromas. And remember, the more you explore and practice, the more you will trust your senses. Cheers!